Hello everyone, my name is Oleuanna, and in this video I'll be exploring Ethiopia's development journey through four key factors: geography, values, factor endowments, and institutions. I'll then reflect on how international aid has been used to address Ethiopia's developmental challenges, including one of the most defining moments in modern aid history, Live Aid. Ethiopia's geography has been both a foundation and a constraint. As a landlocked country in the Horn of Africa, it faces high transport costs and limited access to global trade routes. Yet, its diverse landscape, from fertile highlands to arid lowlands, has long sustained an agrarian economy. Recurring droughts, soil degradation, and the impacts of climate change continue to threaten livelihoods. As Jean-Paul Farguet suggests, geography sets the initial conditions, but institutions determine whether those constraints become barriers or opportunities. Cultural values are central to Ethiopia's development story. The country's deep sense of national pride and self-reliance, captured in the idea of the Ethiopian Renaissance, reflects a desire to define progress on its own terms. These values have fostered resilience and collective identity, yet at times traditional hierarchies and regional divisions have complicated social inclusion. As Weber and Putnam argue, values influence both productivity and cooperation. In Ethiopia, the tension between unity and diversity continues to shape how communities engage with the state and development institutions. Ethiopia's factors endowments, its land, labour and natural resources, offer vast potential. Agriculture remains the backbone of the economy, employing more than two-thirds of the population. However, uneven access to land, population growth, and limited capital investment restrict productivity. As Farguet notes, how a society distributes its initial resources determines its long-term trajectory. For Ethiopia, the challenge has been transforming these endowments into inclusive, sustainable growth. Institutions have arguably been Ethiopia's strongest driver of modern-day development. Since the early 2000s, the government has pursued a developmental state model centered on large-scale public investment and industrialization under the growth and transformation plans. This approach has driven rapid growth and infrastructure expansion, but has also concentrated power in the state, sometimes at the expense of civic participation. As Asanoglu, Johnson, and Robertson argue, inclusive institutions foster long-term development, while extractive or overly centralized ones risk reproducing inequality. Ethiopia's relationship with international aid is long and complex. The 1984 to 85 famine, which triggered the Live Aid movement, brought unprecedented global attention and raised over 125 million for relief. It saved countless lives, but it also framed Ethiopia, and by extension much of Africa, through a humanitarian lens of crisis and dependency. While the intention was compassion, the imagery often stripped Ethiopians of political context and agency, overshadowing the structural causes of famine, conflict, drought, and governance. Yet Live Aid was also a turning point. It sparked my own interest in food sovereignty and the politics of aid. It forced the world and many of us to question how food, power, and representation intertwine in global development. Since then, Ethiopia has continued to receive large amounts of official development assistance from institutions such as the World Bank, USAID, and the EU. Programs like the Access to Distributed Electricity and Lighting in Ethiopia (ADEL) project aim to expand rural electrification and sustainable energy, while other initiatives have supported agriculture, education, and governance reform. International aid has contributed to genuine progress, improved health outcomes, higher school enrollment, and major infrastructure growth. However, aid also risks reinforcing dependency and donor dominance. In Ethiopia, humanitarian assistance often bypasses local structures, and development aid has sometimes strengthened central authority rather than community-led systems. The challenge remains ensuring that aid empowers local institutions rather than substituting them. In conclusion, Ethiopia's development reflects the interplay between geography, culture, factor endowments, and institutions. International aid, particularly since Live Aid, has been both life-saving and deeply political. Its future success depends on moving from charity to solidarity, supporting local ownership, strengthening institutions, and ensuring that development aligns with Ethiopia's own vision of sovereignty and inclusive growth.